we hear the word charity throughout our entire Masonic experience. Everywhere, from our introduction as entered apprentices to our stated communications when talking about brothers, their families, and those in our localities that need assistance. How many of us truly understand the impact of what this simple word means?
Good evening and welcome to tonight's presentation From the Quarries, an archive of Masonic lore.
The Hebrews, in talking about this, used the phrase aheb karuba, which translated means love of our neighbours. Another important Hebrew phrase is aheb elo, which translated means love of God. They are symbolic of the pillars of true morality and virtuous excellence, and refer to the sentence uttered by the young man's question on what he should do to be saved.
Love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind, and with all thy strength, and love thy neighbour as thyself. This do, and thou shalt live.
Another Hebrew word is hanan, which means compassion. Hanan and its cognate draw attention to the response of a person who is able to help another person who stands in need. Again, there is the implicit assumption that the one who helps is moved by his feelings, and that the one who is helped has no right to expect aid. In 1 Corinthians 13, St. Paul uses the Greek word agape to show us his meaning of charity. The definition of agape is very broad. Some of the definitions include love, charity, charitably, feasts of charity, brotherly love, affection, goodwill, and benevolence. By having charity, or love, as some translators put it, one should have the same high esteem that the Creator has for his human children, and the high regard which they, in turn, should have for him and other people. We hold the Holy Scriptures in high esteem, as it is certainly the most remarkable book of love in the world. Agape love also expresses the essential nature of the Creator. It can be known only from the actions it prompts. That love is like the oil to the wheels of obedience. It enables us to run the way we are meant to be as children of God, and in keeping with His holy word. Without such love, we are nothing. Such Spirit-inspired love never fails, but always flourishes. In a great example of agape love, take what St. Paul said in his letter to the church at Corinth.
If I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, but do not have love, I have become a noisy gong, or a clanging cymbal. And if I have the gift of prophecy, and know all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. And if I give all my possessions to the poor, and if I deliver my body to be burned, but do not have love, it profits me nothing. But now abide faith, hope, love, these three, but the greatest of these is love.
In reading these passages, when you see the word love, it has been translated from the word agape. In some translations of Scripture, such as the King James Version, the word used is charity, which can also be translated as benevolence. In the Encyclopedia of Freemasonry by Albert Mackey, charity is defined as the following.
By charity, we must not fall into the too common error that charity is only that sentiment of commiseration that leads us to assist the poor with pecuniary donations. Its Masonic, as well as Christian application, is more noble and more extensive. The word used by St. Paul, agape, means love, a word donating that kindly state of mind which renders a person full of goodwill and affectionate regard toward others. Guided by this sentiment, Masons will suffer long and be kind, He will be slow to anger and easy to forgive. He will stay his falling brother by gentle admonition and warn him with kindness of approaching danger. He will not open his ear to his slanders and will close his lips against all reproach. His faults and his follies will be locked in his breast, and the prayer for mercy will ascend to Jehovah for his brother's sins. Nor will these sentiments of benevolence be confined to those who are bound to him by ties of kindred or worldly friendships alone. But extending them throughout the globe, he will love and cherish all who sit beneath the broad canopy of our universal lodge. For it is the boast of our institution that a Mason destitute or worthy may find in every clime a brother, and in every land a home.
Recently, a brother was ill and unable to work for several weeks. This left him and his family in hard times, and he was not paid during his sickness. From time to time, he would get cards of encouragement from the church members, his friends and family, and also lodge brothers from every part of his jurisdiction. Some of these Masons he knew, and others he did not. Consider an excerpt from one of the letters.
Dear brother, although the amount is small in number, I hope that this gift to you will help you and your family in your time of need. Please do not be too proud to accept it. It is my gift to you. I would expect nothing less from my brothers should I be found in distress. Please let us know if you need anything for you or your family.
This brought tears to the brother, as he knew down deep that this was the true practice of what Freemasonry is about. Another story on charity comes from the Civil War. This is taken from Masonic Stories by Edward Ellis, an account of a battle that took place near a tavern where there was no harbour and far from the cold. The Army of the Potomac, under Grant, assailed the Confederate line on June 1st to 4th at Cold Harbor. The Union Army suffered the most bloody repulse of the war. For 20 minutes the losses in killed and wounded were at the rate of 500 a minute. The Union was fought to a standstill. An order to advance again was disobeyed. One of the most gallant of the Confederate leaders, who was barely 27 years of age, was General Robert F. Hoke. He commanded a division at Cold Harbor and had received his commission as Major General less than 6 weeks previous. Directly in front of his lines lay scores of Union dead and wounded. Loss of blood always causes a horrible thirst, and the cries of the sufferers were more than the Confederates could bear. Scores ran from the ranks and, kneeling among the poor fellows, shared the water in their canteens with them. They had been thus engaged only a few minutes when the Federals opened fire on them, not understanding the meaning of the word charity. The bullets whistled so hotly about them that they had to hurry back. General Hoke was so indignant that he issued an order forbidding his men going out of his lines. In the lull that followed, he lay down at the foot of a tree to rest, for the day was insufferable hot, and he, like all his men, were exhausted. While lying thus, 2 of his men approached, and, saluting, said, "General, a wounded Yankee is lying out in front, and he wanted to know whether there are any Masons among us." We told him there were, whereupon he gave the sign of distress and begged us to go down and bring him into our lines. We replied that we had been fired upon while helping his companions, and because of that, you had issued strict orders against our passing outside. General Hoke roused up and looked keenly at the 2 men. "Are you Masons?" he asked. They answered they were. "Do you know that it is almost certain death for you to go and try and give help to that poor fellow?" "We do, but he has made the Masonic appeal to us, and we only await your permission to try and bring him in," the soldiers said. "Then go, in God's name. I do not stand in the way of such courage as that," replied the general. As eagerly as if rushing to meet a returning brother, the brave men ran toward the Federal who lay helpless on the earth. They had hardly started when the enemy, still failing to understand the meaning of the act, opened fire on them. They did not falter or show hesitation. Everyone expected to see one or both fall dead at every step, but they reached the sufferer, coolly held a canteen to his lips, and raised his limp body between them, walked deliberately back with their burden. Neither received a scratch. I hope that we, as Masons, can take note of our brothers in these examples and be not afraid to practice in and out of this lodge every moral virtue taught within it, not only to Masonic brothers in fraternal obligation, but to all persons, regardless of their station in life. We should also practice this with joy and not as a lawful duty. Giving charity is something we do with a smile on our face and an outstretched hand waiting to lift up the distressed person. In contrast, Jesus Christ said,
"For I was hungry, and you gave me nothing to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger, and you did not invite me in. Naked, and you did not clothe me. Sick and in prison, and you did not visit me." Then they themselves also will answer, saying, "Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not take care of you?" Then he will answer them, saying, "Truly I say to you, to the extent that you did not do it to one of the least of these, you did not do it to me."
I hope that none of us will ever have to hear that chastisement. How awful of us to have ignored any person in need. For a deep dive into the history, philosophy, and traditions of Freemasonry, subscribe to From the Quarries. You will find hundreds of lectures, presentations, shorts, and other Masonic works written by Freemasons for Freemasons. Visit fromthequarries.com or YouTube at From the Quarries.